Hi guys. Okay, today I just want to show you I had a request about obtaining information on a prior, like an older year than the IRS actually has available through the transcript system, or information on a prior audit, a substitute for return, anything like that. And so the IRS has a Freedom of Information Act library where you can actually go in and request additional information. So I just want to take this moment and walk you through. And so this is at irs.gov, and then here's the link: irs.gov / privacy disclosure / FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, and then FOIA-library. So you can see it right here in the top. Also on the screen, you can just see the information, listed out. But of course, you can always just Google irs.gov and Freedom of Information, and then it'll take you to several options within the IRS in order to get it. So let's go first to frequently requested documents, and it kind of lets you know. So with this document, you can get a list of active enroll agents. You can get a list of the lien filing, liens that are in place and that kind of stuff. So when you have those people who are calling you about liens, and they're saying, hey, you have a lien with the IRS, we can get it away from you, and whatever, all that stuff. I don't know, because as a business, we don't pursue clients that way. So that's just not, I don't know what their little protocol for sales is for that, but I know it obviously works because a lot of people do it. So, but that's where they get your information if there's a lien filed against you. There is information regarding document 6209, ADP, and IDRS information, which is more for preparers and those people. It's not really, I would say you're probably not going to, the average taxpayer is not going to be requesting that information. So guidance related to losses from criminal fraudulent investment arrangements. Now that's going to be like Ponzi schemes. And then also like information related to, the whole cryptocurrency stuff, if it, down the road would probably be out here. I'm not sure how soon after a situation happens that information's out here, but I just want you to know where to come and you can look, and you can go out here and read the different revenue rules, revenue rulings related to what's available and what's not. Information about summary or account access by third party data store companies, historical files related to IRS Intelligence Division investigation, racketeer, Al Capone, organized crime stuff is there. Freedom of Information logs, which are going to be the list of who's requested different information. Private letter rulings that have been done, and here's information on what and how you can request that information. So private letter ruling is if you have a unique situation in the tax regulations, the normal tax law and regulations isn't clear because there are a lot of gray areas and different interpretations. So if you can request a private letter ruling where you can submit all your documentation and say, hey, even though we missed the time frame to file for an S corp and we missed the 3-year period where we could do a late election, we think we meet an exception because of the pandemic or whatever it is. And then you can request a private letter ruling outside of standard procedure. And that's where you could go. And if that were given, or if you, let's say you were going to do that, you wanted to see if there were other private letter rulings, or you found you would need to search a database to determine a specific ruling that was there, or someone who got that ruling, then you could go and actually request a copy of that ruling. And then that information, now, of course, private information would be redacted or whatever, but you could request that information, and the information that's public would be there. So like what the reason was and things like that. Same with offers and compromise and that kind of thing. You can request. You can also request the PTIN listing of existing preparers. And so it lets you know who's registered with the IRS and that, so you can, verify your preparers and that kind of stuff. So just want you to know that that is out there. Additionally, here's some more information out here. So you can go out here and visit, but each agency, so all government agencies are required to have certain information available, and anything that's required to be available for viewing by the public, there has to be a process in place for you to request it. And so the Freedom of Information Act sets those processes, or it sets the regulation that says it has to be available. And then they have procedures for you to be able to go out here and get that. So this tells you the stuff each agency, in accordance with published rules, shall make available for public inspection and copying. Final opinions made in court cases. Statements of policy and interpretations which have been adopted by the IRS but are not published in the Federal Register, right? So this is stuff that revenue officers or agents may use in doing their job, but it's not necessarily available if you were to go look in the IRS manual or any of those things, internal revenue manual or any of those things. So that should be out here. Administrative staff manuals and instructions to staff that may affect the member of the public, that has to be available. Copies of records previously released under Freedom of Information Act, which the IRS determines may become or are likely to become subject to future requests for substantially the same records. And a general index of records referred to, in all of this is available. And so you can request that. Additionally, with regard to published tax guidance, advance releases, this is information that's available to you now. So you don't need to do a Freedom of Information request if you're wanting some of this stuff. So, federal rate revenue rulings are available. IRS publications and notices, as you know, you can already get that right here from forms and instructions, right? You can get your forms, your notices, all that stuff. Weekly compilations of revenue rulings, revenue procedures, announcements, and notices. This is available. So you can actually just go out here and it's going to take us to where those are, and you can pull that up. So if you Google something and it says Internal Revenue Bulletin, blah, 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 says that, effective in 2023, you can no longer blah, 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 then you can actually come out here and get that bulletin. So let's go back. So you don't need to go through the Freedom of Information request for information that's already out there. Okay. Other rulings and advice, trainings and reference materials like audit technique guides. That's a big one. Texas Crimes Handbook. So the Texas Crimes Handbook. Tax Crimes Handbook is out there. Taxpayer First Act. So all of these things that could affect us, practice units, all of those things that could affect the public. This information's out here. It's public. This is a public agency. So you don't need to do a Freedom of Information request for that. Audit technique guides. I'm just going to, since I'm already here, I'll just go out here. This is available, and I'll do a different video on that later. But just so you know, an audit technique guide, if you're under audit, if you come out here and find the entity that you have. So let's say a cash intensive business. So you have a barber or a beauty shop or a child care provider or something like that. You can literally go out here, and this is the guide that trains the auditor to audit you. So of course you can go out here and look and use this to know how to prepare for the audit, because this is what they're going to ask you when they come in for the interview. They're going to ask you, how do you determine income for your business, and where are the records, and how do you get these records, and what kinds of records do you have? So these are all the questions they're going to ask you in the interview. And then it goes all the way through every single thing on how they calculate and check what your income is, how they treat food reimbursements, things like that. So all of this information is out here and it's available to the public. So again, this video is on Freedom of Information Act, but you should know that this information is out here. And so child care provider audit technique guide is where you go. And again, you can just search IRS audit technique guide and your entity, what it is, truck drivers or whatever. And you can go out and see if a guide is available for your type of entity. Business consultants. So you can see there's attorneys, like all kinds of different ones that you can go out here and look. So this is useful information for taxpayers in general. So, but again, this was on Freedom of Information Act. I'm getting ready to do one. So what I'm going to start doing is just doing little videos to help you be able to do, this is kind of what I do every day in my business. And so my clients pay me to do that, to spend my time. So it does take time to go and find and dig and whatever, but this is information that's available for free. So if you're a do-it-yourselfer and you need to get information for something, or you're a professional and you're helping a client, hopefully you'll find this video useful. If you like this video and you like this information, take a moment and hit the thumbs up button, and then subscribe so that you can get other information as I share it out here. And if there's something specific that you'd like to see that you don't see, just communicate with me directly through YouTube, either in the comments or in inbox. And I will, especially if it's something I do on a daily basis, I'll just turn the camera on and let you see me go through that process. All right. Thanks. And you have a great year, day, life.